Hello and welcome. My name's Andy Crook and I'm your host for tonight's training topic on the subject of the change exchange. My mission is to help garage owners become more successful in business. How I do that is I deliver a training topic most weeks on one of the 5 pillars of business as I see it. Tonight's topic is the change exchange, and the question I'm asking this week is, what are you willing to give up to get the change you desire? So without any further ado, let's get into tonight's subject and let's consider the situation that a fictitious business owner had found themselves in the story that we're going to tell tonight. So before we go into the story, let's talk about why we're talking about the change exchange, as I call it, and what are you willing to give up? So in life and in business, change often means making sacrifices, relinquishing the old ways and making room for the new. In our journey to better our lives, our businesses, or our relationships, we must exchange comfort for growth, control for collaboration, and stability for innovation. Every meaningful change started with a courageous decision to give up something we once held dear. So what we want to do today is consider some pivotal changes and then consider the extraordinary transformations they can bring. So how does this work? What is it we're talking about? What is the change exchange? So you have to start with the desired outcome. So the desired outcome may be that you want to be healthier. And who doesn't want that? We could all do with being a little bit healthier, I suppose. But if you do want to be healthier, what are you willing to give up in order to be healthier? So you decide that you want to initially give up 30 minutes of sedentary time to become more active. So you're going to go for a 30-minute walk. But it's not 30 minutes that you've given up, if you think about it in that way. So if you're going to go for let's call it a brisk walk, and you're going to take the dog, so you're going to have to give up some time either side of that probably to get the dog ready, pick up the dog doings, so get the bags, dispose of them afterwards or on the journey. It takes more than 30 minutes. So let's say it takes 45 minutes. What is it you're going to give up for 45 minutes? Is it going to be 45 minutes in bed? Is it going to be 45 minutes of soaps? What is it that you're willing to give up? And you have to make the conscious decision that you're going to give up something to get the other. And that is the change exchange. So what about if in business then, and you want better staff retention? So you're worried that staff may leave, especially in these times where it's so difficult to get staff. So what are you willing to give up to make your workplace a better place for your staff to be so they don't want to leave? So are you willing to give up some profit to improve the working conditions or even the pay? That's what you've got to consider. So to get better staff retention, you must be willing to give up something that you hold dear. And that is the change exchange. Nothing is for nothing in this life. We have to be willing to give something up. So I came up with sort of 5 areas within sort of business, if you like, where we can change something for something else. So the change exchange areas I've considered are health over hustle, control for collaboration, tradition for technology, comfort for growth, and quality for quantity. And they're the 5 areas that I've sort of considered. And what I've done is I've come up with, like I say, a fictitious business owner who has been struggling with his garage business for as long as he can remember. And Joe has had enough of the long hours, the staffing issues and the financial pressures, and they were starting to take their toll. And Joe knew his health and his relationships suffered from the constant hustle, hustle, hustle. He knew deep down that things needed to change, but the business had survived this long, and was built on the traditional ways that had served him well in the past. The thought of change secretly terrified him. Giving up control for untested innovation made him deeply uncomfortable. What if the new processes or new technologies failed and compounded his problems? Then one day, Joe's youngest mechanic, Eric, asked Joe to attend an upcoming trade show. Eric passionately argued how attending could open his eyes to new possibilities and inform Joe of the latest trends in the market. But Joe dismissively waved him off. He could ill afford one day, let alone 2 days, out of the workshop. But Eric persisted, and Joe eventually agreed to attend with Eric, even if it was just to shut him up. However, Joe attended the show and it opened his eyes to what was going on in the industry. And better still, he bumped into other garage owners in a similar predicament to his. However, he also bumped into others who appeared to have embraced new ways and were happy to talk to Joe about how change could be brought about in all aspects of his business. While he was at the show, Joe signed up for some demos, and he also made inquiries. And he joined a few of the online communities, more in hope than expectation. After a few weeks, Joe recognized the need to do away with his old ways, and he knew he needed to exchange some of the comfort of relying on traditional methods for growth and the potential of the new technologies. Reluctantly, Joe agreed to take the calculated risk and upgraded the shop's garage management system. Out with the diary and in with the cloud. Tablets replaced paper, and training in these new systems replaced hope. The GMS paid dividends after some initial teething problems. Repairs moved faster and throughput modestly increased. Buoyed by this small success, Joe slowly opened up to further pivots away from the previous status quo. He agreed to implement digital inspection records with photos and even videos for customers, embracing innovation over his tight control of the old processes. He also adopted online scheduling and communications to help reduce his workload. Each incremental change produced some growing pains, as Joe's committed staff had to unlearn ingrained habits. Most of all, so did Joe. But the results made it worthwhile. Profits increased in the first year as efficient new technologies replaced antiquated traditions. Joe's chronic stress and workaholic hustle faded as he exchanged his fears for change for a more sustainable balance of quality customer service through modernized operations. He increased his prices and measured the most important KPIs in his business. He was no longer struggling, and his health slowly improved. At last, he could enjoy some time freedom. Joe wanted the business to be thriving, to be a place that Eric would be happy to work for many, many years, along with the other members of staff. Although there was still more to be done, he sat and considered why he had been so reluctant to exchange growth for comfort and control for innovation and tradition for technology and quality over quantity in the first place. Positive change had brought Joe's shop sustainable gains in efficiency, profit, and some life-work balance, all because he overcome his own fears and made a change exchange. So, although it's a sort of fictitious story, it goes to show how somebody who is willing to give something up can get the rewards that they want once they identify what it is they're willing to give up. So in this case, Joe was incredibly uncomfortable with changing tradition for technology. But why? And I think that's the bigger question here when it comes to the change exchange. Why are you doing something the way you currently do it? If you are aware, and often, and it wasn't that Joe didn't know there were alternatives, he was just comfortable doing it the way he was. And the problem with being comfortable is you can't grow when you're comfortable. It's just one of the rules of nature. So if for example, if you're weight training, you have to stress the body to get the growth. And once you no longer stress the body adapts and gets used to lifting that particular weight, as an example. growth stops. You have to increase the weight or increase the number of reps. You have to become or make the body or that muscle group once again stressed and uncomfortable to generate the growth. And that's the problem for a lot of people is they like the comfort. They may desire growth, but they're not willing to give up the comfort. And this was true in this case. Joe was aware of uh, digital online um, garage management systems, but he'd been using a diary, a paper copy, all his life. And he knew where he was with the diary. It was his system. However, he knew that if he moved to an online system, more people would have more control. And he was a bit scared, is probably the word, to relinquish control for greater collaboration within his team. When he relinquished that control, the fact that there were many hands doing similar jobs meant that Joe had more time freedom. He could suddenly relinquish some of the control that he had because he didn't have to do everything. He didn't have to speak to the customers. The technicians could do a video, send it off, get authority for work, all on their tablets. Something that would have taken Joe previously to ask the technician what was wrong, what was required, price it up, get the job. This was now all being done, if you like, by more autonomously by the members of staff. And what Joe was most uncomfortable about there was control, relinquishing control. So that's often, and I was having this conversation with someone very recently, and I asked the question about why do so many business owners actually like the hustle, being almost like overworked all the time, and why do they're willing to sacrifice their health for the hustle? And the answer we sort of come up with between ourselves is without the hustle, that business owner has lost control. If they're not making every decision, if they're not involved in every part of the business, they they relinquish control. And it's not really, and even though it's better for them not to be that stressed or to be that rushed or overworked, they don't want to relinquish that control. And that's the change exchange. That's what we're asking. What are you willing to give up? People are petrified of reducing the amount of the work they do, or reducing, or putting their prices up, for example, which was another one of the things that Joe did. He thought he was going to lose the number of jobs he would do for the quality of the jobs he was doing. Once again, it's about control. It's the fear of the unknown, and that is, in this essence, what the change exchange is about. So the atomic action that comes along with this is, what are you willing to give up to achieve success in your personal life and in your business over the next 30 days? Can you think of something that you are willing to give up for the next 30 days and see what improvement, actually measure the improvement it makes? It doesn't really matter whether you do it in your personal life or your business life, but what I want you to actually consider is, what are you actually giving up to get what it is that you want, that change exchange? Because at first it looks really simple, isn't it? I'm going to give up the hustle to improve my health. But actually, you're not giving up the hustle. You have to relinquish some control, something that you once held dear. If I've made you think a little bit about how you make change in your life and in your business, then I've done my job. If I haven't, then I've probably failed. Hopefully, relating it to a story made it make a little bit more sense, and we can look at those 5 areas of control, really, that we're willing to give up, which is our health over hustle, control for collaboration, tradition for technology, comfort for growth, quality for quantity. Which one of those areas in your business are you willing to exchange for change? Thanks for listening. Hope to see you next week at the show. Take care.